Good. So my name's Moyse. I'm sales director of a company called Workbooks. We're a cloud CRM provider, a British cloud CRM provider. I also sit on the cloud advisory board of Evoco, and that's who I'm representing today as on here. I'll talk about the rest in a second. So my background, and don't worry, I'm not reading through all this. I've been doing the cloud stuff for coming up for 8 years now. I sit on the board of 4 companies as well as my day job at Workbooks, and a lot of awards, and I was the first to be certified by CompTIA going through their cloud exam in the UK. So I've sort of lived it, and you get positioned as an expert, and I don't like that because it means you know everything, and I don't. I'm still learning, but I've got an opinion that I'm willing to share, and I've got a lot of experience, so that's sort of where I'm coming from and what I talk about. So what I'm going to take you through is how the IT world is changing and how the world in general. Some of the economics, what's and why is it changing? Some of the challenges, why would you even do it? And some predictions, some things we expect to happen in the industry in 30 minutes. So that you're not going to get the depth of everything to do with cloud you ever need to know, but hopefully it will give you some better understanding in leaving the room. So how are things changing? Now this next section, I'm going to go through reasonably quickly, but you'll get where I'm heading probably by the second slide. And the third slide, I forgot to put that one in, that's a new one. If you look back, computing power has changed dramatically. The Moore's law from the founder of Intel way back, that computing power would double every 18 to 24 months, still remains true today. You know, from the mid-60s through today, it's being true, and it's accelerating. And it's interesting, some of these stats, I always find these amusing, that the mobile phone you hold today apparently has more power than NASA had when they put the man on the moon. If you believe they did it, of course, but that's another story. Sony PlayStation, more power than a supercomputer in 1997. 15 years later, that's an incredible shift, and it will continue. One of the challenges amongst all that, though, is change. I like to do quotes from people you can't argue with, like Charles Darwin. But this is what I see a lot of people doing with cloud today as well. I'll look at it later. There's so much information on it, I don't know where to start, so I'll just bury my head in the sand and worry about this later. So let me take you through that story. Firstly, all heard of Blockbuster Video? Do you remember going there when it was there, hiring a videotape, going with your partner, arguing about which film, coming back with 2 or 3 because you couldn't decide? The world has changed in that market. We've now got things like Netflix and LoveFilm. They totally changed the way we digest movies, to the point of postage moving through now to online. You don't even need to go to the store. In the US, Blockbuster went 2,000 stores, Chapter 11 a number of years ago. You know, stores like that are struggling now because we're all digesting things differently. You still watch the movie, you still get the movie. The end result for you is the same, but you've got it a different way. Now, you've got to think people there sat there and said, we don't need to change. Look, we dominate. Look at the brand we've got. Look how quickly things change. Music industry, this is where you'll start to see where it's heading. Tower Records, I used to love going in there in London. New York, massive. Went out of business in 2006. And we know the music industry and stores are all struggling. Why? Because the form factor changed. You still get music, people are still buying it, still want albums, but a lot of it now is done in a different way. It's quicker, faster, more convenient and cheaper. So why would you do it the old way? You've chosen as consumers what you feel is best for you. Books, same things happened, whether it be buying them online or actually buying them electronically. So these old businesses are still around. You can still get books, but not as much is bought in that medium as was previously. So what we're seeing is a levelling out of these markets. Who'd have thought Kodak wouldn't be around? You know, we've changed the way we deal with photographs. I'm sure some of you remember going after a holiday, picking up the 70 photos, going through them. Who the hell's that? Who took that? What is that? You know, that's the reality that's gone, because now they're electronic, you delete them on the fly, you see them on the fly. How many of you even print them? You print the ones you select to, but most of them now stay electronic. You have the frames that are electronic. So again, the way we digest is there. The market's still there, but you're doing it differently. Same with cards. Look at Moonpig, fantastic success story. We've changed the way we do greeting card industry, and the challenge there. So you knew where this was leading, was here. So what about IT? How many of you remember these? Okay. I've presented many a time with this slide, and I present for school speakers, and I did a school one recently, and before it even got to that point, they went, what's that? Makes you feel a bit old when you have to explain. They were actually asking what that was as well. You know, we've moved on. That was the old world. 50 of these things, install a bit of software, disk 47 fails. You know, we moved through 2 different worlds, cloud being the latest generation. It can store things in a different way. If I need to get a big file to you, it's easy compared to all the fiddly ways we did before. So what I was trying to illustrate is other industries have totally changed, and there's been a balancing to how people digest because the consumer, the customer, chooses what's best for them. It is going to happen in IT, and it's happening, and the beginnings are right now. So what we've seen is, and I started in this arena on mainframes, we went from centralized to distributed to client server to web and now cloud. All of them are still around though. Cloud is a replacement. And I hear that a lot, wow, cloud's going to replace everything and I have to move everything to... That is not the case. It just gives you a different option to consider amongst others that were available. So that's the realist, pragmatic view. I sit on the board of the Cloud Industry Forum. This is some of the studies that come out of customers. The majority of people that go and use a cloud application report that they're happy with it. And there's been an increase of people using it over 18 months ago. And you can see all different stats and surveys that say this. But people are using it. This isn't some myth that it's not going to happen. And then when you look at what they're using it for, it's a total mix. You know, I sit in this CRM section here. I came from the email and web security market and in cloud. There's a ton of things you can use, but it's not always the same customers. You need to choose what's right for you at the right time. The clear thing, though, depending on whose stat you want to believe, is it's growing. You know, the fact you're sat in this room, you're interested in it, you're hearing about it. I'm sure you've seen 100 magazines articles on it, probably in the last week. But the underlying trend of this is, well, I don't really understand it, or I'm not really trusting it. And that comes out in all different studies. It's people saying, I don't really know where it fits in the business, I don't know if I can trust it. And there's some stuff just come out in the press yesterday and today around EU law, and they're all getting together and trying to figure out, actually, we need to change the laws to give more clarity, because all the data protection laws were done 10, 15 years ago. So there's a realization this is now critical, important to address. One of my bugbears in living in this cloud world for a number of years is this hype that you will get, which I'm not going to give you. So I've been in this selling cloud for the last 8 years. What you'll get told is everything's got to go cloud. Everything you do should be cloud. It'll be better, cheaper, faster, guaranteed for everything you do. Everything in the kitchen sink. How can one solution be right for everyone at the same time? When have we ever seen that ever before? I'm sure you don't all drive the same car. I'm sure you don't all use exactly the same phone, the same applications. There'll be some commonality. That's the realistic world we're in. You're getting hyped, and there's a lot of push on this. So the reason behind that is more has been spent today in the industry building cloud solutions to sell to you than has been spent on buying them. So why do you think it's being pushed? All this money's been invested. We'd better sell this thing. And the analogy I give there is Sky TV. Sky TV had to invest an incredible amount of money before they had a single subscriber in putting all the satellites up, all the infrastructure, and then they say, now we can sell a customer. Now we've got to go, because look what we've spent. That's what's happening. What that's leading to, however, unfortunately, is two things. One's called cloud washing. That's vendors who have technology solutions who aren't cloud-based, seeing this happen and all the we better get in there. So we'll put a web front end on our application and call it cloud and say, we're the cloud vendor now. Tick, we can now market as a cloud vendor. So that's going to confuse you, because what is cloud and what isn't? The other one's a term I'd love to say I came up with, but it was an article a couple of weeks ago called puppet cloud. And someone was talking in the US about what they've seen happening in vendors is sales guys standing up saying, you've got to buy cloud, it's going to solve all your problems, because they've been told to. They're acting as puppets for their vendor because so much has been spent on it, we better sell some of this stuff. You know, cloud needs to be used where it is right for you and gives you the right benefit in your business at the right time. The other thing we're hearing, and lots of questions are coming up around, well, I'm in IT, I'm worried about my job because of this cloud thing. I'll come on to that as we move towards the end of this section. But there's loads of articles about these, by the way. I've just picked clips out to show you. And then you have end users not quite sure about what this stuff is. I'm not just going to give you all the problems, by the way. I'm going to move on in a second. And I saw this one last week. I just thought it was amusing. In the US, an article trying to explain cloud to generic people, the taco cloud. And just there's so many analogies out there trying to explain what cloud is. It's getting ridiculous. And any argument they can get to get an article out. So what it is going to do, though, is it's going to impact both your business and your personal lives. There's no question about it. You're going to be using cloud often when you don't even realize you're using it. Okay? And it's going to affect all different departments, different applications, different things they do. They're going to get benefits. For example, if we look at marketing today, look at things like Twitter and Facebook, which are cloud applications, internet-based applications, and some of the clever stuff you can do. There are then applications for collaboration like Huddle, some great success based out of London. They're going to affect how you do things in your business. So people are going to use cloud. Maybe they're not calling it that. And in your personal lives, I would bet everyone in this room is using something cloud today, whether you know it or not. It's just whether you call it that. One of the big challenges is this. We are moving so quickly in innovation of cloud. That's one of the great things. It allows us in the industry to innovate incredibly quickly. That how do you keep up? And I think, and a lot of this is personal opinion, but two of the challenges are we need to educate on cloud. And that's great, you're all in this room and educating a little bit. So we need to deal with, I need to educate and learn stuff, and I need to deal with a lot of change. How many people in this room thrive on having to learn new stuff and give me loads of change? It's not human nature, but that's exactly what's happening. And I think that's why there's a lot of discomfort around this stuff, because you're being told to do it incredibly quickly by all this hyper marketing, and you've got to deal with these things going on. So here's my analogy of the day. It's the best picture I could get, unfortunately. Try and find a picture of a car with a red flag man in the front. That's about it. You go back, when the car first came out, how stupid does it look now? Someone walking down the road in front of it, because it's doing 4 miles an hour, it's dangerous, with a red flag, and people looking at it, and there's all the history shows, comments of, it's the devil's work. I'm never getting in those, it's going to kill people, it's dangerous. Anyone here got that opinion today of cars? You know, there's a shift. Today, I think we're sort of in the cloud with the same thing. Someone's walking down the road with a red flag, and we're looking at it going, not sure. It's going to happen. It's going to affect all of us. We are going to adopt it. We're going to get over the objections and the security worries, and it's going to be there. What hopefully I can illustrate in a second is how you can approach that and why and when. What do you see there? Now, I've got a microphone, so anyone's going to give me an answer, you need to shout.
The lady and the young lady.
So you see the old lady and the young lady. So they're both there. I'm sure you've seen these before. That's what's happening in the cloud. People are looking at it with different opinions and different approaches and seeing totally different things. Because where's the clarity? And I think it's the right thing to do because nothing's right the same way, nothing means the same to all of you at the same time. And I'm going to keep emphasising that. The other thing we've done in the industry, we do a great job as vendors and technologists in the industry. All heard TLA before? 3-letter acronym? We've lived in an industry where there's all these acronyms of technology. What we've done with cloud is seemingly gone to, I've termed this a 4-letter acronym. We've got SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, CaaS, and all the hybrid cloud, public cloud, private. We've put all this terminology in there without explaining what the hell does it mean? Doesn't matter what it's called. What does it do for me? And then security is always the biggest thing that comes up. Where's my data? Who has access to it? Oh, I'm nervous about putting that up there into the cloud. And yet a lot of what you do today, how many of you use something like Hotmail or Gmail? Right. How many of you keep folders in it of personal emails? Okay. And how many of you who put your hand up know where that data is? Because I couldn't tell you where my Hotmail data is. It's probably US, might not be. You know, so we're all accepting to a level of trusting vendors in the cloud and stuff already, but when it comes to business, we've gone absolutely the other end of not going to do it. There's a balance of doing diligence and asking the right questions that's absolutely correct, but we need to get away from that black and white. And when you look at the surveys, guess what? Trust and risk, lots of good stuff about cloud, all the good stuff's reported. The one that always stands out is, but I'm a bit worried about it. Cloud Industry Forum, this is either just come out or just about to be launched, the latest survey we've done. Data security and data privacy, again, top 2 concerns. And another part of it, concerns over security and regulation of data. And an interesting point that came out of this was this statement. 47% of organisations wanted, this is British survey, wanted their data stored in the UK. Now, that isn't necessarily they've legality-wise got a policy that says they've got to do it. It's that feeling of, I feel more comfortable if it is. Now, I'm not saying these things are right or wrong, it's your own opinion, but it's these things you need to be aware of that can be solved. Now, I had to get the Olympics in somewhere, and this is the best I could do. So a term I phrased a number of months ago, because with the cloud, like anything else, you're going to hear some failures, and the press love the bad stories, and that's the ones you're probably going to hear more, because they get bigger news. But there will be some failures, you will make some trips along the way and stuff you do with cloud, undoubtedly, but you did that with on-network solutions. Who's installed something on network and always had a perfect world, never had something that didn't quite go to plan? Real world is, things go wrong. Same with the cloud. It isn't a panacea solution to all. So the cloud hurdles, remember, that's one you got here first. If it ever gets used elsewhere, I doubt it. And I always think this cartoon's a perfect example of you need to open your eyes to what's available. Don't turn your back on something in the cloud. So I'm not advocating go out there and rush and sign up to things, but consider cloud seriously because it may do something great for you and you're just ignoring it based on, well, too much effort, can't be bothered, and you may be missing out on a great solution. So why would you go cloud? How many of you have email coming to more than one device? Hands up, keep them up. How many have them coming to more than 2 devices? Okay, more than 3? 4? Here we go, 5? Could beat the record today. How many's got email coming to more than 5 devices? Anyone got it coming to 6? 6? No, 5. 5's the most I've ever got, okay. That's the world we live in. It happens every event I do. It doesn't matter what the audience is. I presented at this school recently. Kids are getting email to their home PC and their mobile, and they just take it for granted. The nature of it is, BYOD is a Gartner term, bring your own device. Consumerization is one you'll hear in the press a lot. I like inmates running the asylum. It's users are going to bring these devices, I don't know where mine's gone, their devices into work and expect to access work applications wherever they are. They're here, I want to check something. They're going to automatically expect it, because guess what? They can do it at home. They can have their Hotmail come to multiple devices. They can use Shazam on multiple devices. All these apps they use, they just work. Box, I can move files from one device to the other. It all syncs. Why can't we do this at work? What the hell's work doing? Because they haven't got any consideration of adoption. They just turn it on, it works, fantastic. And they tell friends, and off they go. That is going to be a driver in business more and more as youngsters come into business, because they take it for granted, and they're going to look at some of the ways we do things today and think we're archaic, and what the hell are you doing? Okay, how do you do that? Make mobility easy, and the cloud enables that, and they're absolutely tied together. The other thing is, do you want to still be doing this? Now, sometimes it's right to have something on network, but an awful lot of time it's bloody complex. And there's a lot of work to keeping things running and updating patches. Oh, and there's a new version I've got to put on because the operating system's updated and this patch needs to go on. It's constantly, you basically engineer your own systems. That's one of the things you can get away from. And this fear of cloud security, the cloud in general can be a lot more secure for you than your own solutions on network. Because how many of you employ security experts in your business who that's all they do? Because that's what you need. Because the attackers out there are doing a fantastic job. You know, the attackers have re-engineered themselves to the point of, for example, there's more malware on the internet in the last 18 months than the last 18 years added together, and the stats show it and the graphs show it. It has gone haywire. Because the attackers have got no rules, no budget limitations, and they're well funded now, because they've made a ton of money from doing what they do. And yet, what we find is businesses typically don't have a security expert. The IT guy sorts of does it. We were okay, we've got a firewall and virus product. It is complex. And if you imagine you take 50 individual companies and they all have to build their own security, do it all themselves, there's 50 times it could go wrong. If those 50 companies could use a cloud provider, it's all done once for them by a company that's going to invest millions in doing it. Workbooks, we've invested 5 million sterling in building our systems over the past few years. A lot of that's gone on security of the systems. No average company is going to do that. But we're sharing the cost out amongst all the customers that we sign. And that's one of the advantages we bring. We can do things like this far more effectively than lots of individuals trying to do it separately. Now, adoption drivers, what's often talked about, and you'll be pitched with the cloud, is it's cheaper. Salesman tells you, oh, you're going to save a load with the cloud. It's not the number one in surveys from customers of it's a consideration. Budgets are absolutely important. I'm sure none of you have got extra budget this year. I usually ask, let's ask, how many people have got more budget for IT this year than last year? We've got one, brave man. 2, got a couple. That's typically what we see. That's better than normal. Last year was none at all consistently. So maybe we're starting to see very green shoots, but most people aren't getting more money to spend. So it is a consideration. But when you look at cloud, why people choose it, it's a mix of things. We had to move quickly and we didn't have the resource to deploy. We needed something for a short time. We needed something that was easier to use and all our users have got mobiles and the interface was great. There's lots of things that can give you consideration to using internet-based systems. And this is just some examples of when would I recommend you're going to consider it. When you're doing a hardware refresh, you've got a project coming up, you're going to change your solution, just consider what's available as a web-based, internet-based solution at that time. Do you want better resilience and protection, data recovery? Do you back up everything every day off-site, for example? Best practice is back up all your critical data off-site, multiple location, every day. And I'm not going to embarrass them, but typically what we find is most companies, until you get into the large companies with big budgets, can't do that because it's complex. You intend to do it, you understand, but you don't. Again, a cloud service, that all happens as part of the package automatically. So lots of different reasons why you might want to consider cloud, not necessarily choose it, but put it on the list of we're going to weigh up the pros and cons for us at this time. Now, one of the important things I want to make sure is clear, because I've lived this one and we still have these discussions today, is that you compare apples with apples. What we often get is a customer looking at a cloud solution and saying, well, how much is it going to cost? Great. Well, this bit of software is cheaper. Because they're comparing just the license for the software with everything over here. What you need to consider when you're looking at on-network solutions is the software, the hardware, installing it, the operating system, updating it, configuring it, backing it up, putting all the security around it, except everything. Do you have a hot standby? Do you have a backup if the hardware fails? How long will it take you to get it fixed? All those things. Because on the cloud side, that's what's being priced to you. It's everything including support as a package. So you need to compare like for like, because we've had that conversation consistently and it still comes up today. So a little bit of education, difference between private and public cloud. Public cloud is a system which you can all share, you all come into the system, and you're on the same platform. Often in the same database, sometimes not. But you're logging in to the same public system. What it does bring is economy of scale. So the prices are typically more attractive because we can put more people on it. The private cloud is, it's only you on that infrastructure. Now, it can be in your network, virtualized, or it can be in the internet still, looking like it's part of your organization, but it's just for you. Typically, a bit more expensive because of the nature of it, but absolutely has more security around it because you're the only one on it. What we see is military and government often sit over here. General in the consumer and the normal consumer market, that is where you'd sit. And you've then got three terms you're going to hear. Software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. The biggest market out there right now is software as a service, is where you go onto a website, you sign up, and you're using it right now as an application. Thank you very much, you're paying for it. Second largest is infrastructure as a service, and the third, platform. So platform is where, do you know what, you've got your own application. I want to run it up for another office perhaps, but I don't want to go and install all the hardware. It needs to run somewhere. So you can go online, load up a platform as a service, and it gives you basically an operating system sat there. There is a machine sat there ready to go, and you can put applications on it and run it. Infrastructure as a service is, it's just the bare hardware that you're going to load your operating system image and applications onto, but you haven't physically bought it, you don't own it, there's been no capital expenditure, and it's in a secure data center and managed and called and done for you. So that's where the three sit, and you choose the most appropriate for you. Now, the reason SaaS is so far ahead is because you don't have to do anything apart from click and you're off and running and using the application. It's everything is packaged for you. So where do I think this is going to go? So everything, I think, will be virtually everything available as cloud, but you don't have to put everything in the cloud. It's that option of what do you want to do? Do you want to have, are you mobile? Are you using desktops? You can virtualize your desktops now. It gives you freedom of choice to do a lot more stuff easier, quicker, faster than ever before. And what we're seeing is a lot of new companies that are forming are starting off in this world using things like Google Apps, Office 365, etc., because it enables them to get going quicker, more effectively, because they've got no legacy. Where they're going to start, so they're making a lot of choices of, I'll go for the most effective, flexible system for our business. One of the challenges that comes up, which I think we're going to see solved very, very quickly now, is, well, to use this stuff, you've got to have a connection to the internet. We're a lot better off than we were a number of years ago with bandwidth connections. And what you'll find is a lot of cloud providers have engineered technologies that are very efficient over even slow connections today. In terms of mobiles, we're about to go from the 3G, we're going to see more 4G marketing, I think, than we ever want to see, but we're about to go to 4G, which is incredibly quick. 5G is already in test, and it's likely to be out in 2 to 3 years from what they're saying. And 5G is about, if I remember rightly, it's about 50 times faster than 4G. So we're going to have live TV broadcast levels over mobiles. So this stuff's going to start to go away, but if you can't get a connection, you can't get a connection to your office remotely anyway. So there's a level of, it's still a similar problem. Jobs-wise, I'd mentioned at the beginning, I'd come back onto this. There were some articles this week that I haven't updated the slides on, but there's been 2 or 3 articles out this week. There's been a massive increase in jobs being advertised in the IT sector, specifying cloud within the body, the title, etc. Because it's such a big market, because it is growing, everyone's clamoring for people who understand cloud, so it's creating opportunity. And you can see the increases here. It's going to continue. And what we expect is going to happen is those cloud requirements are going to go into the everyday jobs. So you think about years ago, you get a job spec, didn't say experience of Microsoft Office on it. Now we take that for granted. It's likely it's going to come, Google Apps, Office 365, or cloud experience or knowledge of using internet application. It's going to become more predominant. It's also going to change the way we do some of our jobs. So not just what we use, but you think of IT help desk, for example. When the applications aren't running locally and you've got, so let's say, a virtualized machine, they can use all this wondrous power in the applications, there's not a lot to go wrong locally. It's going to change a lot of things, and things we haven't even forecast today. There's so many things that could happen, and we're going to see new technologies and new vendors that none of us have even heard of. So what to expect? You're going to get more hype and marketing, I'm afraid. There's no way that's going to stop based on how much has been invested on building all this cloud infrastructure out there. Change is going quicker, and so are devices. I mean, we've all got used to now mobile phone. How many of you have got kids with mobile phones who change them and you never know what phone they've got? It's literally, hang on a minute, what's that? That's the nature of the world we're in now. Stuff is consumable, it's cheaper, it's faster. So that's going to continue. We're going to see more companies purporting to be cloud because it's the in thing to be. Well, absolutely, I truly believe on ubiquity. I expect now, if I get an application, I want it on my iPad, I want to be able to access it from the BlackBerry, I want to be able to share it from wherever I am. I don't care about the platform. I want to know that the application works the same on each one. So you've got a client for Twitter on everything. You don't have to use it on everything, but it means you can just assume and be flexible. That is going to become a norm as we move forward. And in the cloud world, we've seen lots of acquisitions already. Keep watching, there will be tons of them. As big technology vendors realise they've got to get into this, and if they can't build it, they're going to buy it. There's an incredible amount of innovative companies out there doing incredibly well because they've started up without any history and said, we can do cloud and we can do it very well and we can do something that customers will want. And there will be some big winners and losers. There's going to be some failures in cloud like any other industry. It's not unique to this sector. Okay? Not everyone can win, and because it's so lucrative, everyone's running towards it. So in summary, and I'm running sort of on time, which is good, education is absolutely key. The fact you're here is great. Don't ignore the fact that it takes a bit of effort to understand cloud, because it isn't going away. It's going to be more and more important, and it does bring value. I get invited, and lucky enough to things like this, I've been invited to present in San Francisco in December, because I sort of know about cloud. I've accidentally fallen into this, because I took a job that was cloud 7 or 8 years ago. And suddenly, can you come and do it? Okay. Because there's a lot of people don't understand or can't talk about cloud knowledgeably. You'd think they would because of the hype, but it's not. So educate yourself, and I'll touch on what you can do about that in a second. Be open to change. Now, I'm like anyone. I like the old stuff. I want to stick with this, but I know how this works. I know this remote works. I don't want a new TV. I know this works. When you've changed and adopted and got used to it, oh, this is fantastic. So we all know the other side. It's just we have that resistance to go through the pain. Don't get caught up in the hype and terminology. It's about what does it do for your business? Does it make your life easier at home, at work? The fact that Boxnet allows me to put masses of files up, and I can put them on my PC and immediately see them from the phone and forward it to someone from there and give access. I didn't choose it because of its cloud. I didn't choose it because of what it's called. It was because of what it does for me. I always want to move files around, and it was a pain historically. Now it's real easy. I don't even think about it. I suggest have a planned cloud strategy. Think about in your business what you're going to do about cloud. Don't wait till it hits you. Think about what's our approach to it? Are we receptive to it? Where are we going to look at it? Just have a strategy around it, and I'll touch on that briefly in a second. And if you do get into cloud and learn it, there's a ton of opportunity, I promise you. You can see the job stuff happening. It hasn't even started yet. We're at the beginning. We're not midway through. We're at the beginning of this change. So in terms of educating, what do you do about it? And there's hundreds of books on cloud because it's such a big subject and they can make money. So what I'd recommend is, from this, a couple of sites. I'm biased because I'm on the board of both, but Cloud Industry Forum's got 8 surveys on there you can download for free, and guides to what you do about dealing with a vendor in cloud and legality stuff. All very readable. It's not complex, free of charge. A couple of other links here. If you want to do a bit of training for free, go to Rackspace, Cloud Use site. There's a free online a bit of training and an exam. You can get a nice certificate. It's all free. It's not rocket science level, but it will give you some grounding. You want to go a little bit further, there's CompTIA. I've got a thing called Cloud Essentials, which is computer-based training. You pay a couple $100 and you then go to a certification testing center to do a proper exam. If there's one book I would recommend, and I should get commission off Nicholas first, to be honest, but is the book called The Big Switch. It's out in paperback now and download. It's not technical, but it talks about why cloud, why hosted has come about. It talks about other industries, as I touched on at the beginning. It's very readable, and you just read it and go, duh, get it. It's real common sense of why it's happening. And it's a good read. Okay, that's the one I'd recommend. Finally, about having this strategy, what do you do about having a plan around cloud in the first place? So, as I mentioned, I sit on the board of a company called Avoco. They have a cloud strategy, journey to cloud, that you've seen the logo as you go through. It's something where they will work through with you as a consultancy piece and advise you on a plan, so you can say to your board, we know what we're doing, we know where we're going to be in 3 years. When cloud comes up, we know how to approach it. We know what to do. It doesn't tell you any vendor. It's totally agnostic to any supplier, but it's just meaning you have an internal plan of how to do things. If you grab my card at the end for that, happy to pass it on to you. With that, hope you enjoy the day, and if you do need me, I'll be next door. If you want to link to me or connect to me on Twitter, that goes to my LinkedIn address. By all means, do that. I try and be as responsive as I can. I've got white papers, and you don't want to know how much stuff I've got on cloud, but if there's something I can do to help, please get in touch. Thank you. Take care.